All right, what is up, everybody? Clint Esposito here with the Clint Esposito Show number 36. And I'm going to switch our view here and bring in our guests. We've got Matt Vita, is your top left here. And then Collen Doyle on the bottom here. And they actually just produced the very first ever Vermont Comedy Festival. You can't hear them at home clapping, so this is me doing it for them. What's up, guys? How are you?
Good, Clint. Good to be here.
It's good to have you guys in my office room here. So you guys just pulled it off, first Vermont Comedy Festival. First off, so do you guys live in Vermont?
Yeah, so we actually spent our time between Brooklyn and Vermont.
Both of you guys.
Yep.
Did you guys grow up in Vermont, either one of you?
I grew up in Vermont, and Vita grew up in Long Island, right?
Yeah, Long Island. I mean, Vermont's been a part of my life since I was a little rugrat hitting the slopes. I mean, I've spent a lot of time there, but I haven't officially put roots down there until about 6 years ago.
So that's where I was going. Like, how did you guys end up being tied to Vermont, where you thought, like, we love Vermont, same reason. We go snowboarding. And actually, my parents, we had a house up there when I was young. Ironically, we would go up in the summer, though, so we wouldn't even go and snowboard or anything. But,
you're like FMX, so were you like riding, hiking, just getting out of the hustle and bustle?
Yeah, so my grandfather actually left us a house there. And I feel like we just went up there to whack the grass back down and then fix stuff and then go back home.
Yeah, the parents told you it was a vacation.
Yeah, exactly. My parents didn't
do some painting.
They didn't know how to vacation. Everything was like a work trip. And I have inherited that, unfortunately, which is why the Vermont Comedy Festival, I was like, we're obviously going to this so that we can snowboard and do the comedy festival.
Yeah, it's a nice little workation.
Yeah, exactly. How long have you had the club, the Woolen Mill Comedy Club up there?
So Woolen Mill Comedy Club, we will actually be celebrating our 8-year anniversary. It's actually this week, which is
awesome.
I've been so focused on the festival, I didn't even really think about that. But it's actually next Wednesday will be our 8-year anniversary.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what town is that in?
So that's in Bridgewater. The Woolen Mill Comedy Club's located in Bridgewater, Vermont, which is between Woodstock and Killington, which are both, more sought after tourist destinations.
Right.
And Bridgewater, I used to joke around and say, like Bridgewater's the new Brooklyn, where the club is. We're in an old industrial space.
Yeah, it's a cool building.
So some of it's been, like repurposing, older commercial spaces, like into things that, we can use today. And yeah, when we opened 8 years ago, we were actually the first and only brick and mortar. Well, I guess we weren't the first, but we were the only brick and mortar club in the state. There had been maybe 2 other comedy clubs that had opened and closed, maybe in 10 years earlier than we did. So we're actually the longest running comedy club, and yeah.
Awesome. Good job. Yeah, that's really cool. And the same thing, like we go up there, and I guess I hadn't searched that much in Vermont for comedy stuff because we just been going up snowboarding. But yeah, I didn't even realize. I know I've seen some stuff in Burlington or whatever, but I didn't really see that there was, like you said, like an actual club.
Yeah, right now the state of Vermont actually has 2 full-time comedy clubs, us and the other guys.
There you go. We'll leave it at that.
Who's been around longer, Colin? I've got bad signal, so I forgot for a second.
The Woolen Mill Comedy Club, longest standing comedy club in the state of Vermont. Vermont's original comedy club.
Got it.
Did that remind you? Ring any bells?
It did. And my connection's working better, so this is great.
Well, you're going surfing in Brooklyn, right? Per your.
I am going surfing, not Brooklyn today. The swell's not quite perfect for the bridge, so I'm heading out to Long Island. So this is called killing two birds with one stone. Taking a sickle pod, heading out to the sickle waves. Got some offshore wind supposed to build in. So.
So I bring that up because during the comedy festival, they had a video show, which is why I was there. I had a video called Hot Farts, which was actually old. I made that a couple years ago, and then when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this is a perfect video for this." So I submitted that, but then Matt also has a video called what is it, Brooklyn Surfer?
Yeah, the Brooklyn Surfer documentary, which I also it's funny because I also made that video a couple years ago too, which you probably could have told by my facial hair.
So he goes and pretends to surf like in the river, right next to Brooklyn, and he tells all these people it's a great spot, and I wonder how many people showed back up like told their friends at the very least and was like, dude, we're gotta surf down here.
Well, I think at least that chick at the end was the one that was like, which I think in my opinion was probably the best part of the video. She's like pulling up Surfline on her phone.
Yeah.
like where in Surfline is it? But it's funny because when I first put that video out, it went like completely viral. I think on Facebook or somewhere. But like about a week later, I was at that point I was on a house team at the Pit for improv and sketch, and like there's one dude that was on my sketch house team that's like also a surfer from California, and he came in like a day or two after I put the video out. And he's like, "Dude, all my friends are sending me your video, man!" like, blah, blah. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's cool."
That's awesome. Yeah, that was a good one. So, do you guys obviously perform in Brooklyn as well?
Yeah. Vita does a lot of shows. I used to perform a lot in Manhattan, and I perform in New York occasionally. Going to be bringing back a show in Manhattan in 2023. That's kind of under a similar umbrella as the Woolen Mill. It's called Woolen Mill Comedy Presents.
Cool.
So it's kind of our show in New York, but Vita produces like 25, 30, 30 shows a month, something like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, on a slow February in leap year, maybe that many. But yeah, I produce. I mean, a lot. But I've got a weekly show at Young Ethel's in Park Slope, which I do every week. That's like the most stable. It's just like a super fun room. Those guys are awesome. That room is awesome. So that's my little home in Brooklyn. It's sort of. As a DIY producer, that's kind of like my home club at this point. And yeah, but I mean, I produce a bunch of other shows. I perform on a bunch of shows. I'm getting up most nights, like 1, 2, 3 times a night, usually.
Awesome. Sharpening the skills.
Trying that and running away from the existential dread that creeps up when you don't perform, right?
And then you have time to think about your life.
Yeah, or sit in traffic and try to get a couple of 3 feet barrels.
It's all the same.
Yeah, man.
So, Colin, you obviously ride too, because I saw your guys' video where you were on the slopes.
Yeah.
What do you snowboard?
Yeah, I snowboard. I grew up. I started like skiing when I was, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years old, and started snowboarding like around like 6 or 7 years old.
Wow. And
then at 13, I just went solo snowboarding. So I did both for a little while. My cousin still skis and snowboards, but at this point, I just snowboard.
So where'd you actually grow up? What town in Vermont?
I grew up in Bridgewater. So Bridgewater's my hometown. My Nana actually worked at the Woolen Mill. And part of the reason why it's called the Woolen Mill is in honor of her and her working there when it was a sweatshop. So Bridgewater's my hometown, and I moved to New York when I was 18 to study acting and start my career as in entertainment, and I've kind of been here ever since. And about 8 years ago, I was performing a lot in Manhattan. some really great clubs, and I got requested to perform in Vermont, but there was nowhere in Vermont to perform. So I didn't want to go from like performing at like, like great clubs in New York to like just doing like, standing in the corner of a bar somewhere that people wouldn't expect from the show or something like that. So so that was kind of a lot of the logic for the Woolen Mill, was to kind of have a venue that I kind of initially looked at it as more of like a gym, as somewhere that I could just go and practice and do stuff and work things. And then over the years, it's really kind of transformed from more of like a gym to more of like an arena.
And I noticed that you definitely have, while I was there, I went to a couple of the other shows, and I noticed that you definitely have some regulars that are there all the time. You knew them, they knew you guys, they knew some of the other people there. Like, there's definitely some locals there that enjoy comedy on the regular, it seems.
Yeah, and one of the things that's like great about having Vita as a producer at the club is that he works with a lot of talent in New York and different places, and we're able to, because to your point, like we do have some people that are coming back, and I've always been afraid of like burning people out, hearing the same jokes or like whatever. So we kind of have a nice thing, and like being able to bring in comics from kind of all over, so that there's always, someone new, there's always something different. So every show is kind of a little unique and different.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what, especially there, you're outsourcing almost everyone.
Yeah, for sure. We have, the Vermont comedy scene's grown over the last year, and I would say that there's probably like, there's north of 100 comedians in Vermont that are
wow.
like, working comedians that, are out there like doing stuff. So the scene has grown, but obviously it's not like New York or
Yeah, even I know, it's kind of like a falsity because nobody knows, but if you go anywhere and go, I do comedy in New Jersey, even, they're like, oh, and it's like, there's people that suck here too. Like, it's like, don't let that fool you, guy. You could definitely get in trouble.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say to the other side of your point, Clint. Like, we also have got some like regulars that come. The most notably are our good friends Matt and Michelle, where they come religiously So we've got normal Saturday night shows every Saturday at 8 p.m. and they literally come every single week. They bought season pass. They've got their 2 seats, and they come every single week. And they just love it, and they're like the best supporters and just like great audience. And it's just funny. I don't know if you were here for this part of the festival, but Matt. So I rap too. I'm a semi-professional rapper, believe it or not.
Awesome.
I've actually had some good success doing that. So I do a little bit of it in my act, not too much, but it's kind of like, something to stand out a little bit. And there's just one rap that I've been doing a lot in my act. Like at this point, Matt, our regular, like he knows the entire rap. I called him up on stage and he rapped it, and that was like a real beautiful moment for me in the festival because he knew every word.
I was there for that.
You are? Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. I'm glad you were. That was.
He was even before the dude's like, hey, you gonna let me on stage this time or whatever? And you're like, yeah, for sure. And I'm like, oh, this guy's ready to go. Because I didn't even realize the dynamic here yet. And I'm like, what is going on? Is this guy a comedian? And then I realized, he's just some dude and his wife that are stoked on comedy and just know the whole bit now, and he's pumped to do it with you.
Yeah, that was a special moment. I'm happy you saw that.
That's funny. Yeah, so I assume you guys are pretty good at snowboarding, since you started so young. I know, well, both you guys seem to have done it a lot.
Yeah. I was doing really good last year, Clint, until I decided to hit a jump January 4th and destroy my shoulder.
Well, that'll happen.
That will happen. So this year's going to be a little more tame.
You're mellowing it out. How old are you?
How old am I?
Yeah.
An actor never reveals a secret.
Okay. Well, I'm assuming I'm just going to go around 30.
Around 30?
Yeah.
I'll take that.
I'm in the ballpark? Okay. It's getting hurt sucks way more once you cross that threshold.
Oh my God, dude. There was a day when I could have bounced off my head like that
Yeah,
and just got up and rode. And I
exactly.
mean, like, like I said, I started snowboarding pretty young. I mean, when I was in high school and stuff, we were like sending it huge, in a way that like now it's like I can't even really believe that we used to kind of send it like that because, well, we'd fall, bounce off the ground, you know what I mean? And that was kind of like actually last year, I didn't have to have surgery, but I tore some stuff in my arm and my shoulder. And,
Separation.
yeah, I actually traumatized it. I tore it. I There's 3 types of shoulder injuries and I did all of them. Okay. That one doesn't look like it healed too well, but
I understand your pain.
yeah, dude. So that was my first like real snowboard injury, and then I might
Ever?
go to that. Yeah,
That's amazing. I'm very jealous.
Yeah,
because I've had plenty throughout my whole entire life. And actually, I broke my tib fib when I was 9 snowboarding down the hill in my backyard on a black snow, one of those Kmart boards that has no edges. And I hit a tree, so I broke my leg doing that. Then I only snowboarded a couple of times. Then when I was 19, I went snowboarding and crashed and broke my thumb. And then my first pro race was in arena cross, and I had a cast thing on my thumb because I had broken that. So I've not really, when I was younger, I did not have good luck.
No, it doesn't sound it.
Snowboarding, so I just stopped snowboarding until the last 5 years ago. Because my girlfriend's really good at snowboarding. So it's something we could go and do, and we're pretty, same level, because she's really good, and I'm just figuring it out still at whatever, 40.
Well, it's funny, because, I grew up, at the base of Killington. So, I grew up, snowboarding and everything. But kind of the thing with that is, I've never taken a ski trip. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, my family's idea of a vacation is, to the beach. It's not to, go see more snow,
Right.
So this winter is actually I'm taking my first ski trip ever out to Winter Park.
Awesome.
So I'm excited to kind of see, I've heard a lot of good things, obviously, about, riding out west. So
yeah. Wow.
We'll see how it is. Yeah.
Pow, bro.
Pow.
You're not even you're going to be like, where did all this pow come from? I mean, I guess Killington actually, see, I'm used to Jersey, where, if you go to Shawnee or something, there's powder for 45 minutes, and then it gets wet, and then it's just slush that you're riding in. So, at least Vermont, it stays cold enough where you have, actual snow for a good period of time.
Yeah, and my main thing, which Doyle will tell you, because it's probably the only place on the mountain that I'm faster than he is the trees. And Killington actually has some really, really good trees. So I could, you hang out with me, buy me beer, I'll get you powder 4 days, 5 days a week after the storm if you're willing to bushwhack through some tight shit,
bro.
And I promise you, Clint, you've never been more scared in your entire life.
I've been pretty scared.
You're like, is this worth it? Is this worth it? I'm zipping between trees.
We love the Glades. What's your favorite trail at Killington? Either one of you.
Ooh. I do love a good peak to creek at the end of the day.
That's a good one.
That's probably one of my favorite rides. Just going out at 4:00 when everyone else is gone, and just taking that last kind of cruise down.
Nice.
My favorite that's got a name on the trail map is Julio, which means it's about the 10th favorite in actuality.
His favorite trail is called the Dog Path, and that's right through the woods there.
You're not even in gladed stuff. You're just running straight regular woods with little trees and everything.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I love that shit. And but there's actually I've been riding there for a while, but I found some really good stuff. Kind of where you least expect it. But
sure.
And it's I used to about 10 years ago I used to have this thing where I've lost a lot of friends. Not really, that's a joke. But there used to be this slogan whenever we'd out riding. I'd look at everybody follow me if you want to survive, and then I'd just start bushwhacking and yeah. There's only about 2 or 3 people these days that will still follow me when I say that.
Because they value their boards or what?
I guess they're borers. They've got wives and kids. You know, some of them are just a little too pretty. They don't want to get scratched in the face.
People care
Don't have
about
a life
them.
insurance policy, you know, that stuff.
Yeah, we like especially little snow. I realize you need a little bit of fresh snow to glade. Otherwise, you get
Yes.
hauling ass in the trees, and it's not a fun time.
Yeah.
But I really like the secret stash or the stash.
Yep.
It's the stash. I had a riding spot years ago. I called secret stash. But anyways, the stash, which probably is some of why I like it. But the glades are good there. They're not as tight as Matt likes them.
Well, actually, I was about to almost reveal a secret, but yes, I agree.
All right, now I'm pumped to come up there and ride with you guys because you get the real locals and you can actually find some stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. Just don't post it on NewJerseySnowboarder.com.
I'm gonna tag my location there. Give a trail map.
Go smoke a blunt at Cooper's Cabin. You know, real local experience. You know what I mean?
That's what we like to dip off the trails too into the woods and have a little session and then continue on your way. We went there after that. There was a big. You guys got like, I don't know, 2 feet or something last year, and we came up and then we got into the woods and it was like a mission just to get out of the woods because I was up to my hips in snow. And I'm like, oh my God, this was a bad idea.
For sure. That's like the worst, man, when you get in there and then you get in the powder and there's no way to stand up. There's no way to move.
Yeah.
You're just completely screwed.
The worst is when you sit down and then you keep trying to push up with your hands and they just sink into the snow and you eventually have to get over onto your belly and try to army crawl your way out.
I've never had it too bad at Killington, but I don't know if you've ever been up to JP, Clint.
Yes.
But that's like, I mean, that's the best split. I mean, that's my favorite. Like, I love Killington, but I mean, the sessions I've had on JP, that's as close to West Coast you're ever going to get. But I had 2 really, really, really sketchy experiences at JP. One time, like you could kind of ski off the back of that. And like one trip, I was just kind of skiing off the back. I'd been drinking for 3 days and I was hungover as a dog. And long story short, there's a ridge you got to come back into play. And I just found the first line of powder I'd found in 3 days. So I just kind of lost it and just kept going. And then I got basically like wound up on a road like 3 miles from the resort, like all hungover. My phone had died, like had a hitchhike back from some Canadian. And all my friends, you know, you'd think they'd be like calling out for rescue. I found them a half hour later at the bar, like, oh, where'd you go? It's like, oh yeah, remember when you guys all went back over the ridge and back into the resort and I guess headed straight to the bar? Well, I didn't.
You were bushwhacking.
I was yeah, not even it's open there. It was kind of cruising, but in the wrong direction.
That's crazy.
Like last year or the year before you ended up on Route 4?
That was last year.
Dude, I wish I could. So you've been, I want to say it was J Peak. Have you seen the guy that's trying to set a land speed record on his board and wears leather gloves and crouches down at J Peak? And he's just giving away weed on the slopes?
I do not know this.
Race this guy.
You don't want to race him. So I saw him. We get off the lift. We didn't have, I think that's where it was. We didn't have any, maybe it was Killington. It was I don't know where it was. Anyway, we got off of we get off a lift and I see the guy give somebody weed and we're out of weed. So I'm like, hey, you don't happen to have more weed? And he's like, I do at the car. Follow me. And he literally just points straight down and squats down and puts his hands like on the snow. And he's like, I'm trying to get to 50 miles an hour or whatever it was, or 40 or something like that. And then he pulled, because he had GPS on his phone. And we get down there and he's like, 38. And I'm like... So then he had all this weed and edibles in his car. And I'm like, this seems like a good idea. This guy seems trustworthy.
He's providing a service, you know?
He's providing a service. He was like,
it's
donations
weed
only.
Delivery on the mountain.
Yeah, he was professional about it. He goes, donations only. It's not for sale. And I was like, I will donate you $40, kind sir. Thank you very much. The people you meet doing this stuff is amazing.
Mm.
Do you guys do anything
Yeah.
else? You surf, obviously. Did you used to? How did you get into surfing? Just Long Island.
I mean, I grew up pretty close to the beach, so I was like, always my whole life on the water, boating, beaching. So it was kind of just like boogie boarding ever since I was a little grommet. And then one of my older brother's friends, who became a good friend of mine, we used to play in like hardcore bands together and stuff. But he was like sponsored when we were younger, and like it was kind of like, come surf, and then like came and surfed, and I loved it and just fell in love with it.
Where'd you grew up in? What Long Island or Staten Island? You said.
No, Long Island. Yeah.
Why don't I realize that there's a beach there that you can surf?
You get sick. We had the my old town, Long Beach. We hosted the Quicksilver Pro.
Oh, really?
I guess about 10.
How
Yeah,
do I
dude.
not know this? Like, what is going on? I mean, I guess I don't surf. That's probably why I don't know anything about it.
You
lost.
search Quicksilver Pro Long Beach.
Wow.
I was gonna say New Jersey has some good surfing too, doesn't it? Like Long Branch is kind of people go out there.
Yeah, Jersey's sick too. Yeah.
It's amazing. I spent too many years in the woods on dirt bikes. I have no idea about this.
I was telling Vita the other day, I had a friend who was a surfer a few years ago. He brought me out, and I surfed off the coast of New Jersey in February with like the wetsuit. Like Vita's going. It's December right now,
Yeah,
But
I got it back there.
So you
But
got
to
wet
me, I
or
mean,
dry?
that was a wetsuit. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you don't really surf in dry suits.
Really?
I've never seen it. Like maybe some of those like psychopaths up in like Lake Michigan that do the lake surfing, but other than that, it's all wetsuits.
So
But what's crazy is that I was warmer. That was like there was literally snow on the beach, and we were out there, and the waves were insane. I'm on this like super long board, and I'm sitting out there looking, and just in my head, I just think to myself, what the fuck are you doing right now?
Sounds crazy.
It's like I'm not a good surfer, and but I was warmer that day than I have been snowboarding.
Did you pee in your suit?
I did. First thing you do, you got to pee the suit.
Before you even get in the water? That seems
I
weird.
actually peed the suit while I was still in the van, just to play it.
I do it in the parking lot, man. And you got one step up on me.
That's way ahead of the game on that one.
Why is that weird to think about peeing in your suit before you're wet?
Sorry, Vita didn't explain this all to me.
It's like peeing in the shower. You guys cool with peeing in the shower?
Yeah, why not?
I've always, this has been my line of reasoning. I will pee in a shower. I might pee in a pool. I won't pee in a hot tub. That's my call on peeing.
Yes.
Why draw the line? Like, why is there a line in between hot tub and pool? If anything, you're screwing up the temperature of the pool more than you are the hot tub.
Well, as my dad, who's a scientist, says, dilution is the solution to pollution.
That's true. Pool's bigger. I get where you're going.
Pool's bigger.
Sometimes getting ready for the shower, I'll just I'll hold it and then to get in the shower and then pee.
You got to look at your parts per million of piss to water.
It's true. If in the shower we're diluting it way more because there's way more water following that thing, especially if you pee early.
Yep, and then it goes straight down to the drain, and then I guess out to Staten Island. I don't know, where does the piss go?
Yeah, I believe that's exactly where all of it goes.
When I was growing up, we had a swimming pool at the house, and my dad used to always say to people when they'd come over, he'd say, "I don't swim in your toilet. You don't piss in my pool."
Yeah. That's a good rule to live by.
That was his line.
Do they really have like stuff to put in your pool that turns color if somebody pees?
I mean, I always wanted to have that because as a kid, I was just certain, because you see certain people, it's like, they're drinking all day, they're in the pool all day, and they haven't gotten out once, and you just got to sit there and you think to yourself, when was the last time you took a bathroom break?
Yeah. And you're drinking. Yeah, you're definitely... At least then, let's see. Water change color when you pee.
It's got to be fake. I think that like our entire generation, because we were
Exactly.
before the internet. Our entire generation was duped by that. Like,
Exactly. I think that's one of those things,
you know?
where everybody knows about it, and it's just bullshit. None of it exists.
Well, it's like kind of like Santa Claus up until you're about 5 or 6. Like that thing, I think was just like parents were like, okay, we're going to keep this going until you're about 13, 14. And then by the time you're 15, you're drinking and pissing in the pool yourself.
Okay, is there a urine detector for swimming pools? I actually have this pulled up, and people will be able to see this. Is there truth to the rumor? No. There is no chemical which changes color when someone urinates in a swimming pool. Did we change timelines, or was that never a thing? Do you guys know about this? Changing timelines?
I feel like there was a movie or something that propagated this further, where like someone peed in the pool and they're like walking around and it's trailing behind them like a red.
Well, I'm like, now you gotta what? Shock your pool to get rid of this dye out of it, or like this seems like a nuisance.
Right.
Let the kid pee in the pool, man.
It is crazy though how we were all convinced that was a real product that was out there.
We could go down the rabbit hole. Do you know about like, or have you heard about like people saying that we switched timelines? Like, do you know about Britney Spears' skirt in Baby One More Time or whatever it is?
No, I don't know.
No.
Okay, so I remember this. When she was in the first video that she did where she was in school? When you think about what she was wearing, what was she wearing?
Her hair was in a pigtail. She was wearing a skirt, and she had like her shirt was tied like this with her tits out.
But what was the skirt?
The skirt was a pink skirt with the ruffles in it.
But it was pink?
I think it was pink.
I thought plaid. I would put a vote for plaid.
Oh, maybe it was plaid. Maybe it was
schoolgirl kind of outfit.
Okay. Go online. Do this when you get off of here. Go online and search for her in that video. And every single image and video will have a black skirt.
Huh.
Yeah. Your mind is blown. I could see it, Colin. This is how I felt.
Yeah. I mean, how do you not remember black? You know what I mean?
Bro.
Is this the Mandela effect? Or
Exactly.
Did they really change it?
Exactly.
Well, the one that blew my mind was, do you remember Shaq being in that movie called Shazam?
We looked up. I did a whole thing and went through like 40 of these, and there was a bunch where you're like, no,
that never. Like, I remember that movie.
Yeah.
I remember renting that movie, and it never existed.
Yeah,
because it was what Sinbad Kazam was the actual movie, right?
Yeah, it was. I guess it was like Sinbad, but I remember it being Shaq.
It's like, was it a commercial? You actually remember getting the video?
I remember the video. Yeah, I remember like Shaq being the genie, the whole thing. And before anyone says it, no, this isn't a racist.
No, this is
all tall black men look the same. All right, Colin.
Well, Sinbad and Shaq, I mean, you couldn't see the confusion.
I love Sinbad. Sinbad was like, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Crazy.
So I searched. I did find one picture of Britney in the back seat of a car with a plaid skirt on. But if you look up the video, they all have black skirts. I did an entire podcast on this because I was like, what is going on here? Why is like, you know what? This is nobody will be able to prove or disprove this, but the coffee maker at my house didn't used to be able to accept my like tall coffee mug, and I always used to have to take the base out, and then a couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden it would fit. I think timelines switched. Maybe I didn't check that good before, but I'm pretty sure it didn't fit before.
And tonight, Clint's coffee mug magically works now. Stay tuned, more at 6.
Exactly. What's your guys' favorite conspiracy theory? They're all going away now.
I I kind of subscribe to like the George Carlin thing where it's like, it's like conspiracy, and it's like, yeah, God forbid the world's most powerful people get together in one room to discuss a mutual agenda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I have to think about that one.
I mean, that's a good one. It's funny what's conspiracy and what's not anymore. The lines are blurring.
Right.
I like the Andy Kaufman conspiracy because I just truly hope that Andy's still alive and has one final performance or act come.
Andy Kaufman.
He comes back 50 years later and he's like, I faked cancer. How do you guys like that?
If somebody was going to do it, I would believe with the amount of pranks he played on people, that's probably maybe one of the most plausible.
Like, some of them are weird, though. Like, the Tupac one was weird, where, like, there was the music video of Tupac wearing sneakers, and, like, those sneakers didn't come out for, like, another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
How about, there was something weird with Tupac with his accounts or something as well. If you look into that, like, his accounts got switched or drained or something, like, right before he died. How about even just Biggie's albums, Ready to Die, and then his second album is Life After Death, and he dies right before that comes out? He died like a week before it came out.
That's always weird, too. Like, do you remember when Chris Farley died and then Almost Heroes came out? Do you remember this?
I don't, but I can imagine, like, they're like, well, we got to release it.
Yeah, we still got to release it. So it was like they released this movie with Chris Farley like 9 months after he died. And so like it was like a good enough, and I love Chris Farley growing up. So it was like a good enough period where it was like I was able to try to emotionally process it. And then after that, you still had to go to the movies and watch a brand new movie that Chris Farley was in.
Yeah. I bet that killed because, like everybody was like all amped up on. They should have done it immediately. Their sales would have been way higher.
For sure. And I don't know why it took so long to edit and everything. But looking back, what's even more impressive about that film is Matthew Perry's in that film. And looking back now, knowing that he was acting on 55 Xanax, I mean, you got to give it to the guy. The guy should have gotten a fucking Oscar for that.
And he drank too, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty...
That's impressive.
That's very impressive.
If I was on 55 Xanax, I'd be out there and they'd be like, and action, Colin, and I'd just be drooling.
Yeah. Well, that's a professional.
That's a professional, right?
One day I was at my friend's house and he's like, it was him and his girlfriend, and then they had a friend over. And the friend had all the Xanax. And I think I had a square. I think the three of us had a square. And we all just went to sleep in the living room. And the friend had like a whole bar and cleaned the entire house while we were asleep. And I'm like, there you go. Like this is not even the same thing at this point. Like we can't even function.
That's crazy.
It's professional. What were we talking about before that? Oh, you brought up about functioning on drugs. There's I think the movie is All That Mayhem or All This Mayhem, and it's about the Pappas brothers. Remember like skateboarders. You guys might know this. Skateboarders back in the 90s. Toss and something Pappas. They were Australian. But they basically used to compete with Tony Hawk. And their whole thing was that Tony Hawk was he was the pet of X Games and all this stuff. But the one guy was talking about he did acid, and then he had to go and do some skateboard, like, vert contest. And he said while he was skating, he started feeling like, that picture of the body where his arms are up a little bit and then down. You know what I mean? It's by, like, Michelangelo or something.
Yeah, the Vitruvial Man by Da Vinci.
Exactly. He goes, I started to feel like that guy as I was skateboarding, like, in the air doing tricks. He's like, that's how I felt. But you're like, how does this guy function?
That stuff blows my mind. Like, I used to know guys who would snowboard and take, like, an insane amount of hallucinogens and then go hit, like, crazy jumps and do, like, insane tricks. I had one friend tripping his mind. And he was doing like like 540 rodeos, like doing like this crazy stuff. And I'm like, how do you do it? And he goes, dude, it's like you're in slow motion. And he said he was hitting the drums, and in his head, he was able to see the trick better because he was seeing it like in slow motion.
So I've definitely microdosed and ridden or even snowboarded. And it does help with like visual acuity. You can spot stuff faster and you focus in like kind of different. But I don't know how it would go once you got to a point where you're like giggle fest and now you're like, okay, I'm going to hit this drum.
Let's send it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think it would go good at that point. I think you're beyond.
I'm beginning to feel like the loser on this podcast because for me, it's never been really more than a couple of long trails. Beyond that, I don't know how y'all do it.
That's the worst. What do you mean? Alcohol is the worst. You're then like, whoa.
I don't know. Springtime, you get a couple of pops, and then you do a couple of pops. That's usually fun for me.
I mean, between the two of us, I've been so drunk snowboarding that I actually had to hold myself up to pee on a tree.
But then good snowboard.
But then right back on the trail, just like a fucking champ. So I don't know how you explain that.
One time when I was younger, I literally had a beer and I was, I don't know, teens, and then tried to do laps and I fell over like 3 times and I'm like, this is not. And I mean, since I have had a drink and, messed around, I guess it's different when I was young.
Yeah. Last year's shoulder injury, I think, was derivative of Jaeger bombs. I had been riding all day, drinking all day, and then like the last trip, everyone was like, Jaeger bombs. So I bought like a bunch of Jaeger bombs, proceeded to just go out, launch myself off a jump onto my head. So, live and learn.
But it didn't hurt that bad until you sobered up.
No, it hurt. It was instantly like impact on the ground. Like, what did you just do?
You sobered up right at that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, and I'm back. That was a bad decision.
We were going a little wild in the spring, actually, now that I'm remembering. There was that one day we were toasted up, and I was going tits out, and I had one of the only falls of the season, and then I was just dripping blood out of my elbow for the rest of the day. Skiing around, my tits out, just dripping blood everywhere.
Nice. That was a spring run once it started to thaw out there?
Yeah, which is honestly like one of my favorite days of the year is like that first run where like everything's still open, but it's like 65 degrees and it's just kind of so surfed out. And it's just kind of like, for me, I lose the shirt, find the beers, and it's just like, oh my God, I love that day.
This sounds amazing.
Last year, my last day snowboarding was June 9th. And wow. I went snowboarding one day that was actually 82 degrees outside.
Dude.
I went one day that was 80 and another day that was 82 in June.
Amazing.
Insane.
How was the snow just super soft?
Yeah, the snow actually.
Yeah, super kind of,
Yeah, soft, but it held up. I don't know what it was, but last year we had like a sick amount of snow into the spring.
Well, we need this rain to cut it out up there and start putting a base down.
For sure.
I think we're supposed to get some snow here in Jersey, in northwestern Jersey, Sunday. So hopefully you guys get a bunch up there. Well, how many other snowboarders do you know that actually snowboard, or not snowboarders, sorry, comedians that do? Because this is, anytime I find a comedian that does something like, I've got somebody on LinkedIn and I'm going to have him on Monday, but he used to do BMX and do shows and stuff, and now he's a comedian. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm not the only weirdo here. Do you guys know?
Yeah, I mean, so we've got, there's a Boris Hyken.
One guy.
No, I feel like last year,
I thought
I think like over like the last kind of like year or so too, like maybe over the last couple years since kind of like things are started opening back up. a lot of like what Vita and I have been trying to do is make it more of like the shows at the Woolen Mill kind of like a vacation, like you were talking about earlier. So trying to get people like this summer, we took people out swimming, different places around the state. Last winter, we took some people out snowboarding. So we're definitely trying to like get people to be able to come up, enjoy themselves, go do some skiing, snowboarding if they want to, and then do the show. This past festival, we had First Stop Ski Shop, Board Barn in Killington, gave anybody in the festival that wanted a rental, snowboard skis. They gave them rentals to go out and ski. So we had some people in the festival that got out and rode, which was cool, including yourself, which I saw some videos of you getting out there and shredding while you're at the festival. So
cool. Yeah. Well, that's so. Like I said, when I saw it was Killington, I was like, hey, I'm submitting to this thing because we go up there all the time and ride. So I'm like, we're definitely going. So then once that video got in, I'm like, all right, we're going up to ride this weekend. Hopefully they get enough. So we actually got up. She took Friday off, and we got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, drove up there, got on the slopes at 10, rode until about 2:30, 3 o'clock. Went home, went to the hotel, took naps, and then went to the comedy festival.
It's a perfect day.
And then Saturday it rained all day, so that's why we had been watching the weather. So that's why we're like, we only think we're gonna get Friday, and so we made sure that we, got in there and got tired. So that's the first time we've ridden this year. So it was definitely enough to wear our legs and feet out.
Sure.
Nice. But it sounds like you folks keep a similar timetable to me and Colin in terms of getting after it, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we'll come up there and we'll ride because, we just like to session and then we'll stop, maybe grab a drink and then just hit a bunch more runs straight in a row and do that until we're exhausted.
So now they have the apps now with all the like the analytics, like the Killington app. Mm-hmm. Which tracks like how many days you were, how many lifts you did, how many vertical feet you skied. And last year, when you broke down the amount of times I was at Killington, the amount of days, the amount of lifts, and the amount of vertical feet I skied, it came down that like each day I was at Killington, I skied like 1 mile.
Oh, really?
I think I have the record for most amount of drinking at the lodge during a ski season. If anyone skied less vertical feet than I did for the amount of time you're on the mountain, I would love to see it.
You were just like, hey, I'll meet you over at the other lodge's bar. And then you just take the lift up and just ride over there, and that's it. How many can you log how many Waffle Cabin waffles you've had?
Going for a record on that one, too, all right?
He's the Waffle Cabin waffle champion. Last show I had a competitive eater on. You could take him on, see how many Waffle Cabin waffles you can have.
I like this. It might be a nice little challenge.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, you guys got anything you want to plug?
Just basically, thanks for having us on. Vermont Comedy Festival was a lot of fun. We're just getting ready to start kind of our next project, which is actually going to be the Vermont Film Festival. So part of this was kind of kicking off, and even like your sketch and that whole section of the show was kind of to debut what we can do, film wise, and hopefully, in 2023 we'll be rolling out the Vermont Film Festival as well as the second annual Vermont Comedy Festival.
Awesome, because I'm working on so I do a little bit of stunt work, but I have friends they do car stunts and fire stunts, and that's how actually Hot Farts came about. My buddy does a lot of fire stunts, so that was like, well, let's utilize this and just make something funny. But we're working on like a 10-minute, I see it in my head, like a 10-minute little action movie, so hopefully I can get that finished before the Vermont Film Festival comes out. And it's VermontComedyFestival.com and WoolenMillComedyClub.com.
Best way to follow Woolen Mill Comedy Club is actually on our Facebook and Instagram. And then follow us on Eventbrite as well, and Nar Presents, and following the Eventbrite's a good thing because a lot of the tickets are going through Eventbrite.
Awesome. I think I need to be an honorary NAR boy since I get NAR myself.
Yeah, well, we were talking earlier, but definitely this winter we'd love to have you up, perform at the club on a Saturday. But it sounds like be a good addition to the Saturday Shred crew.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you guys send over your revels. We'll find a Saturday that you're going to be up there. We'll make it happen.
Awesome.
Rip it.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming on. Thanks for the festival. Thanks for your work. Thanks you for being ambassador of Vermont in general. All right, getting people out to the rivers, to the slopes, showing them what Vermont has to offer, and then making people laugh. It's all very noble.
Hell yeah! This is, and also I'd be remiss not to note that I'm literally pulling into the beach parking lot, Lido West, about to go shred some barrels. So this was like the perfect timeline.
You didn't even have to wait in the parking lot and talk to us.
Pulling in, baby. Pulling in.
All right, I'm gonna sign
and,
off.
While Vita's shredding the barrels, I'm gonna go hit the laundromat. So
who's getting more NAR?
All right.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Next Monday I got a guest, and next Thursday. Next Thursday is he works at a company called Extreme. They actually set up either adventure or action sports like vacation trips, and some percentage of the money goes to charities. So I got a bunch of guests coming.